So I had some questions about when I'm going to get back to making Godot videos. I will be making more Godot videos, but currently with our school district now allowing us to have Unity due to some nonsense about the state requiring certain certification tests and every teacher needing to do that, then there's no certification test yet for Godot. Maybe I'll look into how to create one, but I gotta record these videos for my students, so you guys are just gonna be getting those for a little bit through the summer. But I have not forgotten, I will create more Godot videos. I've currently upgraded to 4.6 I think on my machine, so we'll check that out and kind of go do a series of deep dives videos into just using Godot itself. And then we'll make some games. So I do have that on the back burner, and I'm working that out, but I just wanted to let you guys know. So let's get into the video. Welcome to video 3. Flying around is great and all, but this is a space shooter. We need to give our player the ability to fire projectiles, and in this video that's what we're going to do. We're going to create our first prefab and then code it to be fired by the player. First we need the actual laser, so right click in your hierarchy, go to 2D object and choose sprites, then choose capsule. You can also use a square and scale it down if you want, but capsule just seems for me to fit better for this. Rename it as laser, and over here on the right in your sprite render component, we are going to add a laser sprite to it. So if you in our project, if you go to art and effects, you'll see a whole bunch of different options for lasers: green, blue, purple or pink, red, and yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and use this blue one. I'm gonna grab this first one and just drag it in over there. You can see it's not too far off. It's not too small. If we look in our game view, you can still see that it's going to be fired. So we could leave that as it is. The one change I am going to make is I'm going to take this filter mode and change it to point, so that I don't have that anti-aliasing blur. So now we got that. I'm going to click back on our laser, and just like our player, this laser needs physics to detect collisions. So we're going to click add component. Alright, and I already have it sourced up here from a previous attempt at recording this, but we're going to type in capsule collider 2D, and that's what you're going to add to it. Now we want this laser to pass through enemies and trigger a damage event that we're going to code in eventually, not bounce off of them. So what we need to do is this section here that says is trigger, we need to check that box, and that will allow us to do just that. Now, something we haven't gone over yet is tags. What we're going to do is we're going to actually create a tag for this player. That way when the damage event occurs, it knows that if the laser collides with an enemy, then it needs to do a thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to select untagged at the top, and you can see there's no actual tag that says laser. So at the bottom we're going to choose add a tag, and we have this list of tags we can create. There's also sorting layers, rendering layers, but we're going to focus on tags. So where it says list is empty on the right, you're going to see a plus sign, so we can click on that and create a new tag, and this one is going to be called laser. Now I don't think we did it already in the last video, but my player is tagged player, so if you haven't, click on your player, check the tag. If it says untagged, click on it and choose the pre-built-in player tag for it. Alright, next it's time to create our script. So let's go to our scripts folder, open that up. We're gonna go ahead and right click in here, create, choose mono behavior, and we're going to go ahead and name this laser. And while we're at it, oh hold on, it's gotta reload, all that other stuff. There we go. Click on laser, go ahead and just drag that over here onto the inspector, and then we can pop that open. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a variable. So we're going to add this public float, right? We talked about floats in the last video, I believe it was. Floats are numbers that include decimals. In this case, it's going to be our speed variable, and we're going to set it to be a default of 8. Next thing we need to do is we need to actually code the movement. So what we're going to do is in our update, we're not going to mess with the start for right now. We can actually remove that if you want. I'm just going to leave it. But we're going to put this line of code in here first. And so what it's going to do is it's going to take the transform and translate to move it. And we're going to move it up along the Y using this vector 3 dot up. We're going to multiply that upward movement by the speed and time dot delta, the speed variable, and then time dot delta time. Now, directly below that, we need to add some cleanup, because if we just continuously fire lasers right now, then they're just going to bog down the memory of the computer or the game and then crash it, right? So what we're going to do is add this check here, and I'll add a comment above it for you guys, but it's going to be our cleanup code. So what's going to happen is this is going to run an if check, so an if statement. So it's going to say if something happens, then do something. And so if the transform dot position of the laser is greater than 8, then it's going to say you run this destroy command, which means it's going to delete it from the game or the system, right? Destroy this, so the laser game object. So what it's saying, this whole thing is saying if the laser's transform dot position on the Y is greater than 8, then destroy it. And that's going to be our cleanup code to prevent the laser from too many lasers from accruing on in the game and crashing it. So we'll save that. We're going to let that do its thing. Now let's test it out. So go ahead and press play, and what we should see is this laser zooms up the screen, and then on the left it'll destroy. And there it goes. Alright, so everything's good with that. Now, to turn this laser into a prefab, it's very easy. We're just going to drag this laser over from the left hand side in the hierarchy, grab it and drag it over on top of this folder that says prefabs, and then you'll see it appear here, and you'll see that now the text has changed blue, and that's how you know if you have if it's a prefab or not. The text itself will change color to blue. So go ahead and delete that from your scene, because next we need to actually code in the ability to fire it. Okay, so but before we carry on, let's go ahead and press Control S to save. So now, like I said, it's time to tell the player how to use the laser and how to fire it. So click on your player, open up your PlayerController script, and at the top, right underneath our movement settings of our movement variables, we're going to add some new variables, and those variables are going to control our combat. We want these guys right here. So as we are looking at this, so this public game object is going to be our laser prefab. It's going to be a slot that we put the laser in. We're going to have our fire rate, so how fast we can actually fire between shots, right? And then so it's like our cooldown, right? And then next fire is going to be our internal tracker to calculate when we're allowed to shoot again, right? So from that, what we're going to do is in our update function, there it is, our update method. We're gonna go, well, first let's go ahead and press save so we can see the setup, the initial setup. There we go. Alright, so right here we have our movement settings and our player controller script. Then we have our combat settings. We have our fire rate. As you can tell, the next fire is a private variable, so it's not showing up. Then we have this laser prefab that we need to add in. So let's go ahead and click on prefabs, and we have our laser. Let's just click and hold, drag that over here on top of where it says none. Right? You can also, if I press this little circle if you want, and look for it in your assets, and then just click laser, and then it will add it that way. I just think dragging and dropping is just faster, so I use that. Go ahead and press Control S. Let's go back to our code and press enter in our update method so we can have some space after that calculate movement. And it's going to be very easy code. We're just going to add another if statement with some things to do. So this all together, let me add a comment for you, is gonna be our firing, if I could spell firing right, logic. I guess I should put one right here too. This is our movement method. There we go. Alright, so we're going to check for two conditions, right? So what we're going to do is if the input.getKeyDown keycode.space. So this first condition is, did the player press the space bar? Okay, if they did, is our time.time, so is the time running greater than the next fire time that we described. Now right here we have it automatically defaulting to 0. So that, but if we were to change it, then there'd be an internal timer running and it would allow us to fire. So if both are true, then it's going to reset our fire time. Okay, and so it's going to immediately reset this next fire time threshold by adding our fire rate to the current time. Then we're going to calculate our spawn position, so the position of where the laser is going to appear, right? We're going to make that equal to the position, right? So this is where it's going to appear. This is the position of the ship plus the offset. So we're going to offset it by 0.8 on the y-axis. And so in this position in the middle of the space above, right above the player, we're going to create, so instantiate, we're going to basically spawn it, the laser prefab at this spawn position. Okay, and then the quaternion.identity is going to control the rotation, and basically just means that we're going to 0 default the rotation, or default make the default rotation equal to 0 for right now. So let's go ahead and press Control S and see how all this works. Now if everything works out perfectly, I should be able to press the spacebar and fire something. So check our movement. Our movement works. Press the spacebar. Now you can see it's kind of spawning way up here. Don't really like that, so let's go ahead back into our script. So press stop. We're gonna bring this down quite a bit. Let's say we'll go with 0.2. Press play. Let's see how that works out. Alright, now that's inside the player, so it's really just going to be kind of a testing for your own feel of it. I think 3.5 is going to be perfect for me though. Yeah, there we go. and you can see they're just destroying on the screen once they reach that 8. So I'm never actually just overloading the game regardless of how fast I press the spacebar. So now that we have that going, let's see here. We got our flight, we got our firing. So I think that's going to be it for this video. So in this video we talked a little bit about vector3.up and how that's just a upward translation along the y-axis. We went over if statements and how they are like a check statement. So if something occurs, so if a certain condition is met, then do a thing. When we created that twice in our player script and in our laser. In the next video we're gonna create our enemy and get that moving towards the player. So until then, keep learning, keep building. See you in the next video.